A paid client asks for an update, and the only place their request exists is 3 messages deep in an inbox thread. Answering quickly protects the moment, but it also rewards the most recent interruption over the most important relationship. Keep doing that, and the cost is not just stress. It is missed renewals, unclear expectations, and work expanding because every client feels equally urgent. The 3C Client Current Framework replaces that reaction pattern with a visible client current board. Each client gets a card showing category, communication cadence, and cultivation cue. The working question is simple enough to repeat under pressure. What does this client need next? And what does that cost me to provide? The output is a board that tells you whether to clarify, update, protect scope, or invest in the relationship before the inbox decides for you. Disorganization persists because the usual fix is more memory disguised as a system. A solo operator adds folders, flags, and reminders, then still decides from whatever client appears loudest. The symptom is a crowded inbox. The cause is that client value, urgency, and relationship risk are being processed in the same place as routine replies. That collapses different decisions into one behavior: respond now. The loss is not only a delayed message, it is capacity spent on low-leverage reassurance, while a high-trust client waits for a strategic answer. It is accepting tiny requests because no boundary was visible when the request arrived. Effective client management needs a separation layer before communication happens. The unanswered operational question is which clients deserve customized attention this week and which need a controlled, clear, repeatable touch. The 3C framework controls 3 decisions that usually blur together. Categorize answers the service posture. Is this client active, at risk, high potential, or maintenance? Communicate answers the rhythm. What contact is owed, through which channel, and how much customization is justified. Cultivate answers. The relationship investment. Where should extra attention create trust, renewal, referral, or future collaboration? The artifact is the client current board, not a contact list. A contact list stores names. The board shows state. Each card has a position, a cadence marker, and a cultivation cue. The operating rule is that no client receives custom attention until the card answers the diagnostic question: what does this client need next? And what does that cost me to provide? This works because it forces attention to pass through evidence before effort. It fails when categories become personality labels instead of current operating states. Categorize first because a client's current state determines the acceptable response. Use 4 practical positions on the board: delivery, decision, risk, and dormant. Delivery means work is moving and the next obligation is yours. Decision means progress is blocked by a client choice. Risk means silence. Scope tension or expectation drift could harm the relationship. Dormant means no active obligation, but possible future value. The rule is to recategorize only after a visible signal: a request, missed approval, new constraint, late payment notice, scope change, or explicit interest. Do not recategorize because you feel anxious or because a client is charming. The intended outcome is a different next decision. Delivery gets production time. Decision gets a clarifying prompt. Risk gets a direct expectation reset. Dormant does not get daily attention. The boundary is clear. This does not judge the client's worth. It identifies the current management posture. Communication becomes effective when cadence replaces improvisation. Each card receives one of 3 contact rhythms: immediate clarification, scheduled update, or quiet hold. Immediate clarification is for block decisions or risk. Scheduled update is for delivery work where reassurance matters, but constant access would slow the work. Quiet hold is for dormant clients who should not consume active production time. The trade-off is real. A template can feel less personal, but endless personalization creates hidden delays. The selection criterion is consequence. If misunderstanding would change scope, timeline, or trust, write a custom message. If the purpose is progress visibility, use a repeatable structure with one specific detail added. This rule works by reserving custom effort for moments that change the relationship. It fails when templates hide uncertainty. If the answer is not known, the communication should say what is being checked and when the next update will arrive. Consider a solo operations consultant managing 6 retainers and 2 project clients. Before the board, every morning began with inbox scanning, and the consultant often gave the fastest answer to the newest request. The constraint was limited deep work time, only 2 uninterrupted blocks most days. The decision was to stop treating all clients as active emergencies. Each client card was placed on the board. 1 retainer moved to risk after 2 unanswered approvals. A project client moved to decision because work could not continue without a signed-off direction. 3 delivery clients received scheduled update markers. The action changed immediately. The consultant sent 1 direct approval reset message, 1 decision prompt with 2 options, and batched the routine updates. The trade-off was that 2 friendly clients no longer received same-hour replies. The inspectable output was a board where every client had 1 next action and no card sat in vague importance. The takeaway is that satisfaction improves operationally when clients can see clarity, not when every message receives maximum customization. Cultivation is the part most solo operators either overdo or postpone. It is not constant friendliness. It is targeted relationship investment when a client's current signal justifies extra care. On the board, the cultivation queue is a small marker, added only when there is a reason: renewal timing, a successful milestone, a referral opening, a strategic expansion, or a relationship repair moment. The rule is to cultivate in the weekly relationship slot, not as random emotional labor between tasks. This preserves sincerity because the action is specific. Send a useful observation, ask a renewal question, acknowledge a milestone, or propose a next collaboration. The constraint is that cultivation competes with delivery. If every client receives extra touches, no client receives meaningful attention. This rule changes the decision from "who have I not talked to lately" to "where would a thoughtful touch change the next business outcome?" A brand designer selling project packages used the board during an imperfect week. A family obligation removed 1 workday, and 2 past clients sent casual messages about possible future work. The old response would have been to chase both leads immediately, pushing active work into the evening. The board showed a different decision. 1 active client was in delivery with a scheduled update due. Another was in risk because feedback had expanded beyond the original direction. The 2 past clients were dormant until their messages showed specific timing or budget intent. The designer sent the delivery update first, then reset scope with the risk client using a concise options message. Only 1 past client received a cultivation queue because they mentioned a launch date within the month. The plan still failed once. The scope reset message came too late in the day and created an extra round of clarification. In the learning loop, the designer adjusted the next similar risk card to trigger morning communication, not end-of-day communication. The result was not perfect calm. It was a better next decision under constraint. The framework fails in predictable ways. The first failure is over-categorizing, creating so many states that the board becomes another place to procrastinate. Use only the positions that change a next action. The second failure is stale cards. A category older than the last meaningful client signal is no longer a management decision, it is decoration. The third failure is hiding uncomfortable conversations behind cadence. A scheduled update cannot replace a scope reset when trust is at risk. The fourth failure is cultivating everyone to avoid choosing. Respond by asking the diagnostic question again. What does this client need next? And what does that cost me to provide? If the cost is unclear, clarify. If the need is not current, hold. If the consequence is high, communicate directly. The opening tension resolves when the newest message no longer automatically wins. Build the client current board with one card per active or recent client. First, categorize only from visible signals, not mood. Second, assign one communication cadence that matches the consequence of misunderstanding. Third, add cultivation cues sparingly, where a thoughtful touch can change renewal, trust, referral, or future work. Fourth, review the board after each meaningful client cycle and adjust the next similar decision based on what actually happened. The midpoint self-audit is simple. If a card cannot show one next action, one cadence marker, and one reason for its category, it is not ready to guide behavior. Return to the diagnostic question whenever the inbox starts steering the day. What does this client need next? And what does that cost me to provide? The transformation is visible. Fewer memory-based promises, clearer client states, and a workflow where attention is assigned before interruption claims it.